Okay, so in this video we're going to talk about media queries. And media queries are used to apply styles at certain widths. So if you remember that everything cascades in CSS, so something that is put down here overrides what's above. So if you've designed using mobile, your initial CSS is all based on mobile. So you'll want to go larger in size as you add media queries. So for example, if you wanted to add a media query, you would do it after you've done all your mobile content. So I'll show you the code for this. One thing that you will need to have in your HTML page is a certain meta tag so that it can operate based on the viewport and it recognizes the different size that you're working on. So I'll put this in the notes on Canvas, but this is what you will need in your HTML. So this will go in the head tag. It's the viewport meta tag, and this will scale it correctly. So I'm going to save that over in my HTML. And then in my styles, I'm going to show you what this looks like to add a media query. So at media, and we're going to say the screen specifically, looking at that size. And there's a few ways to determine the width that you want to set as your parameter. So you can do min width or max width. I'm doing min width. So once it hits 599, anything bigger than that should look this way. If you do max width, you'd basically say anything smaller than this width should look this way. Since we build mobile first, it makes more sense to use min width and go bigger as you go. So for example, a lot of what we'll do with media queries is actually layout stuff, changing a menu, making things adjust to the desktop size versus mobile. But I'm just going to show you how this works. So for example, if I wanted to change the background color, so I'm overriding what's above here. So I have the body defined with the background color, and if I put it here, and I'm just going to make it red to make it really obvious what's going on. And I'm actually going to shrink this down just to show you. So here it is on mobile, and I got to this view. I'm in the inspector, as you can see, and you see this magic point. So if you can see the screen here, 587 as 611, now I have a red background. So you can see that shift as I change screen sizes. So that's basically what a media query allows. Again, it would be often used for changing the way your menu works or some other elements, but just to give you the example here, putting that background on. Another thing we think about when we're working in responsive design is like font sizes. And so there's some easier ways to manage font sizes than standard pixels. So we use a measurement known as EM. EM is what I'm referring to. And so if you set the font size initially, so if I set it on the body that the standard font size is 16 pixels, then that's my base, and everything I define after that can be in EMs. So for example, if I defined this H1 as font size 2M, that is going to be 2 times 16, so that's 32 pixels larger. If I do on my H2, and I want that one to be, sorry, did that one wrong. Font size, and let's make this 1.5M. And so I've created hierarchy here. And maybe my P is at font size, and we'll keep that at 1M. That'll still be 16 pixels. So if I were to refresh, not a lot changes here, but it means that basically if I decide that everything needs to be bigger, your boss comes to you and says it's all too small, I could come in here and set my base size as 20 pixels, and everything else, all of my categories would change. Like, so everything would change, but I would still maintain that hierarchy. So I don't have to say, oh, now I need my paragraph size to be 20 pixels. I need my H1 to be double that at 40 pixels, and then 1.5 of that. And so you don't have to do all of that recoding. You can just change the font size for the body setting and it becomes consistent. So we're going to say our body font is 16 pixels, our H1 is 2M, our H2 is 1.5M, and our paragraph is 1M. So for example, as I get bigger, so if I am now at 599 pixels, bigger than a phone screen, I can make that font a little bit smaller to kind of give me more room to work with, maybe just not feel as large there. So here I can say 0.75M, and I'm going to shrink that font size. I'm actually going to go down, so I'm at mobile, that was 16 pixels, and now you see it got smaller once I got up in that 600 pixel range, and my font got smaller. So there's that difference. And again, if you're working in M's, then it's easy to change the whole hierarchy just by changing one number instead of changing every code entry. So the next thing I want to have you think about is that if my next media query was media screen and min width of 799 pixels, so again, I've closed this bracket on my previous media query and I have a new media query starting. So if I want to keep it that font size to be 0.75M, it's going to stay because it's going to use what I've set here at 599 unless I override it in the 799. So if I wanted to change though the size for my H1s only for screens larger than 799 pixels, then this is where I would put that in. So let's say I want to go just to 1.75M here, and then I could do it. Again, this just gives you an idea of what you can accomplish with this. The styles build on each other, and things can get confusing if you don't work in size order and make your way down the style sheet. So that is media queries. We'll be using these a lot as we get into Flexbox and Grid, but this gives you a primer on what that code looks like and what you need to include for that.